What's going on, everyone? Trust the Buzz here. If you're new to the channel, just know I make daily Charlotte Hornets content. So if that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. If you cannot tell by the thumbnail or title of this video, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the difference between the team that Steve Clifford had when he took the Charlotte Hornets to the playoffs, when they won 48 games and lost to the Miami Heat in 7, and the difference between this team. Now, I know back then the East was, I think that was still when the East was deemed weak, and obviously the East is a lot stronger now, so it's going to take a lot more, but I want to show the type of players that Steve Clifford had on that team, and still how it was impressive that he was able to get that team into a 6th seed. So I'm not saying he's going to be able to get this roster into a 6th seed, because like I said, the East is a lot tougher now than it was back then. However, I still think that he can make something happen with this roster. The front office, and I've been preaching this, the front office needs to help him. I don't think it makes Steve Clifford look good if the front office doesn't just sign Cody Martin and then it's like, okay, despite what happens with Miles, they're not going to be doing Steve Clifford any favors if they continue to sit idle and just run it back with the team they had last year. So I actually hope they do make some moves. I don't know exactly what I even expect them to do anymore, but they have to make some moves. Or else this whole thing would just be a train wreck in my opinion. But anyway, yeah, I'm just going to compare the two teams and show you what he was able to do with that team and what he could possibly do with this team, because this team is a lot more talented. I'm going to just show you how they're a lot more talented. So let's go ahead and do that. So, all right, as you can see right here on the left, I have the 2015-2016 Charlotte Hornets. Like I said, lost to the Miami Heat in 7. And then I have on the right, the 2021 and 2022 Charlotte Hornets roster. James Borrego was the coach, but like I said, we haven't made any moves, so we're going to keep a lot of these same players. And then also they were 43 and 39, and we saw the embarrassing loss to the Atlanta Hawks in the play-in. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and start on the left with this team that Steve Clifford had. And one thing I want to point out right away is when I was looking at this is that the assist total. They were ranked 19th in the league in assists. Now, last year, the Charlotte Hornets, if you look on the right here, they were ranked 1st in the league in assists. Now, I went back onto NBA.com. So on NBA.com, you can't watch the full game of games that happened like outside of last year, but you can watch the clips. So like, for example, if I want to see every assist by Kemba Walker, I can go see every assist by Kemba Walker, but I can't just watch the game straight up like I can from games for last year. But I mean it's fine. I think that some of the things will be out of context based on what I was watching, because obviously I can't go back and watch the whole game, but just watching the individual plays and things like that, I can just base it off that. So I could be wrong. Like I said, it could be just there's things out of context, but based on what I've seen, these are my thoughts. And the fact that they're 19th in assists makes sense, because if you go back and watch those games, a lot of the assists they were getting, or a lot of the offense, was just coming off ball screens. And Nicholas Batum, Marvin Williams, Kemba Walker, they would just shoot the ball. There was no real ball handler, really. It would just be someone holding the ball at top of the key, and the whole play was to wait until Kemba, Nicholas Batum, Marvin Williams comes off the off-ball screen, pass it to them, and they would shoot. And that was to a detriment watching those games, because they would just shoot despite what the play was calling for. So, for example, if the defender didn't really hit the screen that hard and was able to contest the shot, they would still shoot. There was no there was no second option. And with this team, there wasn't that many scoring options anyway, especially when you're talking about a play like that. However, on this new team, we do. So let's look at the roster from last season. Well, not last season, but Steve Clifford's playoff season, and then we'll compare it real quick to this season. And the reason I brought up the assist total is just because this year, and even last year, the team is really able to move the ball. So when they come into situations like that, which I think Steve Clifford has changed his approach to how he wants to coach the game. He said that in many press conferences and many interviews. So I would like to see how that goes. So maybe it won't be as many off-ball screens, because that was literally the whole point of the offense. If Kemba Walker didn't have the ball and isolating, that was the offense from what I saw. So, but I think this team is able to make that second play. So if the initial play isn't there, this team is talented enough to make those kind of plays. Also, you don't have to rely on those kind of plays, because you have LaMelo, who is a dominant playmaker. LaMelo can get people open. LaMelo can do a lot of things with his playmaking that nobody else on that team could do. Nicholas Batum was a decent playmaker. Kemba Walker was a decent playmaker, but they weren't the playmakers that LaMelo is. LaMelo can create a whole offense by himself, just by the way he's able to pass. So that's what I want to talk about. But like I said, I want to go through the rosters real quick, so just so you can get an idea. So we'll just go ahead and go through the roster. I'm gonna go through. I'll just name everybody. We'll go down to Courtney Lee over here. So basically, you see there's Kemba Walker, Marvin Williams, Frank Kaminsky, Jeremy Lin, Cody Zeller, Nicholas Batum, Jeremy Lamb, Spencer Hawes, PJ Harrison, Al Jefferson, Tyler Hansbrough, Troy Daniels, Brian Roberts, Courtney Lee, and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who only played 7 games. So it is what it is. Anyway, and then we go on to the right, where we have Miles Bridges, and that's iffy right now, but Miles Bridges, Kelly Oubre, LaMelo, Terry Rozier, Mason Plumlee, Cody Martin, P.J. Washington, Jalen McDaniels, Nick Richards, Gordon Hayward, J.T. Thor, James Bouknight, and we'll, probably Kai Jones will get some minutes this year, and hopefully, maybe Isaiah Thomas. I prefer to have Eric Bledsoe, but I've talked about that in the past. Anyway, as you can tell, this roster is completely better than that past roster. I mean, one outside of Kemba Walker, Marvin Williams, Cody Zeller, maybe Nick Batum, then Jeremy Lamb, and then you had an older Al Davis. You really didn't have much on that team, and even those players, it's not all that. As opposed to now, you got Kelly Oubre, you got LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Mason Plumlee is kind of in the same vein as Cody Zeller, but Cody Martin, who is a better defender than anybody on here, and I know we're kind of focusing on offense at first, but Cody Martin's a better defender than most guys that was on this list right here. And then Jalen McDaniels, you got PJ, you got Gordon Hayward, and so on and so forth. So as you can tell, the roster on the right is a lot better. That's the current roster for the most part, outside of some younger guys. Obviously, Montrezl Harrell, we don't think he's going to come back. Vernon Carey's gone, things like that. And Sky Lewis is injured. So basically, my point is that on this left side right here with Kemba Walker, Marvin Williams, you really didn't have any other scorers outside of Kemba Walker and Nicholas Batum. Okay, you see Michael Gilchrist averaged 12, basically 12 and a half, but he only played 7 games. You got Al Jefferson, who averaged 12, which, what is that going to do for the team as a whole? Al Jefferson was someone who played a lot in the paint, which that was his game. That worked in kinda, and basically it just wasn't enough. That's why you had the off-ball screens. That's why you had to do so many off-ball screens, because they didn't have any other players that really worked well with someone. Even if they had a playmaker, this team wasn't built to facilitate or play that way. Rather, this team was built to do iso ball, because Al Jefferson is a ball stopper, Kemba Walker is a ball stopper. I'm not saying they cannot pass, but I'm saying that if you want the most out of them, you're going to give them the ball and let them do what they do. So like I said, Kemba Walker. Nicholas Batum was a better playmaker. He was closer to how LaMelo play makes than someone like Kemba Walker. And like I said, not as good. I'm not talking actual talent. I'm talking about in the way in which he looks to play make is similar to LaMelo's, as in, I'm going to drive, I'm going to kick, I'm going to pass people open, I'm going to do fancy passes. Obviously, he's not passing like LaMelo. I'm not saying the skill is there. I'm just saying that his vision of the game and how he looked to pass people open was there. Now, and obviously it didn't work as well because he's not as skilled as LaMelo with passing. They just look to pass the same. They're looking to pass. So yeah, basically you didn't have that on that team. As opposed to this team, you have LaMelo, who can really run an offense by himself. And it's not all about assists. I know I'm talking a lot about assists, but it's not all about assists. It's really just about the type of offense they're going to be able to run. You have guys like Terry Rozier, who can pass, but he's also a shot creator. You have Gordon Hayward, who is a shot creator, but he can also pass. He can also run an offense. On this other team, you literally only have Kemba Walker and Nicholas Batum who can run an offense. Jeremy Lin, when I was watching a lot of his possessions, it was a lot of him holding the ball at the top of the, at top of the 3-point line, waiting for the off balls. There was nothing else he could do. He wasn't able to penetrate really, and if he did, he wasn't really passing it out like that. And then also he would just pull up threes. There really wasn't anything he could do to create his own shot necessarily. So that team just struggled, as opposed to on the right, on the current roster, you have so many weapons that can create their own shot. Like we've talked about in the past, PJ in a way can create his own shot, and that's going down the list. You see what I'm saying? So you still have LaMelo, you still have Terry, you still have Miles, you still have Gordon, you have James Bouknight, who I hope to get more minutes because he's someone that can create shots, and he's not a playmaker necessarily. I'm not looking for James Bouknight to get 5 assists a game or even 4.5 like Terry, but James Bouknight can pass, and he's willing to pass. He's not one of those guys like on this previous roster who you just wouldn't ask them to pass because it probably wouldn't get where it needed to be anyway. So that's my point with James Bouknight. So you just have so much more offensive firepower and just a lot more guys who are They can be used in multiple ways. They're not just one-trick ponies like a lot of guys on the other roster. Like Jeremy Lamb, I mean, he shot 30% from three, literally 30% from three. And then while he shot well from the field, you're gonna need to do better than that, especially when you're not someone who can create your own offense. If you're gonna be basically someone that's a spot-up shooter, you need to be able to shoot. And I think he got better at that as time went on, but I'm just saying at the time it just wasn't that good. Marvin Williams was a 40% three-point shooter. That is something that like I would expect like PJ. PJ could get close to that. He's at 36 right here. He's a 36% three-point shooter where he comes off screens, but PJ can also put the ball down. So my point is when they are doing these off-ball screens and the shot's not there, the players on the right, our current players, are able to make a second move. They're able to pass. They're able to penetrate. They're able, like we've seen Gordon Hayward, as injury riddled as he's been, whether it's ankle, back, or whatever, he still is able to get to the basket. Like I mean, and that's not not take away from him. My only gripe with Gordon Hayward is his injury problem. It has nothing to do with how he plays. I think he's a great player. So these are the type of things I'm just saying we have to think about. That Steve Clifford is just going to have a lot better weapons this time around. There still needs to be a lot more done, but these players are just able to create their own offense and create offense for others, even if they're not the best passers. They are able to score efficiently enough. They're able to carry their own weight enough that it allows everybody else's game to be easier, as opposed to just doing a bunch of iso ball with Kemba Walker or doing pin downs with Al Jefferson, and then Nicholas Batum pops out and tries to hit it. Like it's just going to be a lot more smoother. And then also, I just would like to see how Steve Clifford has changed his game, because I don't think he's going to run it the same. He's talked about a lot how it's just being a good coach is learning when to just develop your coaching as well as helping develop the players. So interested to see. But anyway, I know I talked about a lot about assists, but it's much more than assists. But on the offensive side of the ball, I just really think that it's just not going to be as stagnant. I mean, there's going to be nights where the shots don't hit. We've seen that these last 2 seasons. Like we've seen nights where the team falls in love with the three ball and they're just not able to hit it. And then there goes the rest of the game. However, this team is talented enough to where if the three ball is not hitting, they can still make something happen. It's just more mental than anything. They're a young team. So when the three ball wasn't hitting, they just kept shooting, But I feel like Steve Clifford's going to really help them. That's where Steve Clifford can come in and mold their game to where, all right, you're talented enough to do other stuff when the three ball's not hitting. You just got to realize that. You just got to take advantage of that. And I think that's where I feel like this difference between Steve Clifford and James Borrego will be. James Borrego will let them continue to shoot the three, as opposed to Steve Clifford's going to be, all right, we're going to switch it up, and we have the playmakers to do so, as opposed to even back in 2015, 2016, they shot a lot of threes. They shot, they were 4th in three-point attempts. They were not able to do anything else, really, like outside of that. This team is. So that's that, and I just feel like that's where Steve Clifford is going to be able to help the most, is just helping his team realize what they're good at and capitalizing on that. But anyway, that does it for this video. I know it's the off season, so it's going to be a lot more videos like this unless news comes out. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.